Welcome to Comic Book Curious. Jim, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Jim Higgins, and I'm a comic book editor, writer, teacher, and a few other things.
Wonderful. Jim, who is your favorite superhero and why?
My favorite superhero is has changed over the years, and it probably in the last 10 years, my favorite superhero has become Captain America. And one of the things that's interesting is that I don't think a lot of people who are out in the world necessarily realize that as much. Well, you know what? I'm gonna take that back. Before the Marvel movies, I don't think people understood that much what Captain America means to comics fans. And Cap is a character who all the other characters in the Marvel universe, all the other superheroes, like admire him. They don't just like him, they admire him, they look up to him for his leadership, for his sense of morality, and for his just innate virtue, that he is a good guy. And he inspires them to be better too. And the Marvel movies have done a really good job. And Chris Evans has just knocked it out of the park to establish that for him. If you look in the movies, especially his relationship with the Black Widow, that she's like, I don't know why, even know why you like me. And he's like, everybody gets a second chance. And that's Captain America.
Yeah.
You know?
And
After 9/11, Captain America suddenly just leaped up even further for me as a symbol of everybody in America, you know.
and what he meant to the country when he was originally
Yes.
drawn was huge.
Yep.
That's a great answer. That's the first one I've heard of that. That's great. I think now he's my favorite. What is one quirky thing that you can do? Impressions, sounds, voices, beatboxing, vocal gymnastics, anything quirky, party trick.
Oh, I can do a trumpet sound.
Let's hear it.
All right. Yeah, I just made it up. So you're my first fan.
That's great. That'll be our theme music. Okay, great. What is one superhero power that you want, if you could have one?
To fly immediately. I have had dreams of flying regularly for most of my life. In my dreams, I don't really fly as much as I can float, levitate, and then move. And I often in the dream think, wait, am I dreaming or not? I can't remember if I can do this in real life or if it's just a dream thing.
That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah. Okay. In 2 or 3 sentences, who would win in a fight, DC or Marvel?
I will not answer that question. It's, you know, when you're in the comics business, it's like, especially when you're a professional, like I worked at DC. Marvel is not the enemy. Marvel, if they do well, we did well. Everybody wins. I'm going to, honestly, and this sounds corny, but comics is such a collegiate environment amongst professionals, I think, that we don't think that way. So I don't want to encourage it.
Okay, I love it. That's a great answer. Okay. Do you have any real life superheroes in your life besides your parents?
Let's see. I went to Catholic grammar school and Catholic high school. And my Catholic grammar school experience was really pretty good. And my high school experience was an all boys Catholic school. I don't recommend that to any human in the world to go to that situation. Anyway, but the thing, my 6th grade teacher was a hippie nun. So she didn't wear a habit, or she didn't wear the headpiece. Her cross was a big, like, hand carved wooden cross, or she had one like that, I think. And you know, she had carpeting put in the classroom, and we didn't sit at desks. We all sat on the floor. And so we would often sit in a big circle, and she was kind and thoughtful and funny and treated us like people. So I remember I loved her. I thought she was the greatest person in the world. And we were talking after class one day, and she invited me to come with her to the airport to pick up a friend of hers. And I just felt like, wow, it's so great. But she recognized, she was like a witness for me. She witnessed who I was for what I was, and liked that person, but more importantly, respected and and valued me for what the things that I valued and who I was and what I could do and my intelligence, which,
Mm.
I often didn't feel like, I was an intellectually curious kid, and I often felt like I didn't get a lot of props for that. And she was one of the people who gave me that. She's a star, and she's like has a list a mile long of people who she taught that I think feel similarly.
And it's such an
Sister,
important time.
sister Beth Hassel. She may not be a sister anymore. But
Sister Beth Hassel.
yeah.
Thank you, Beth Hassel, for creating this wonderful man, because she had a big influence on you.
She did.
All right. What is your passion?
I have 3 passions, and I'll be brief about them since I'm giving you so many. The first one is comics. Okay. I gave up having a potentially financially successful career to be in comics. And it took me a long time to realize that I was allowed to do what I wanted with my life. And, and through a combination of luck and persistence, I got a job at DC Comics. But I had worked in a comic store for years, and I had done some comics writing, very little bit. And it's just been my passion. And since I was a teenager, I saw the value of the comics medium as an art form, as a literary form. And, to me, I never thought I would live to see the day of comics being taken so seriously, with comics like Mouse and Fun Home, and people who do journalistic comics. And it's just amazing. Other passion, I was a social worker for 5 years, counseling families where there was abuse and neglect. And I have a real passion for psychology, especially for developing your emotional life, dealing with trauma in a productive way, not glossing over it with a lot of platitudes and self-help book stuff. And I learned a tremendous amount about empathy while doing that. And that is one of the most important traits for us to have when dealing with people, is empathy. My other passion is film. So I have a bachelor's and a master's in cinema studies. So I kind of learned about the film as an art form, as opposed to, I didn't really, I took some filmmaking classes, but it was the study of film. So I have a really broad range of stuff I like. So I like Marvel movies, and I like, art films from China from the 90s, and I like Japanese exploitation movies from the 70s, and I like Pam Grier, and I like indie American films, and on and on.
Cool. That's great, man. That's great. Okay, cool. Great answers. Here's a lightning round with 1 or 2 word answers. All right?
Okay. I'll try hard.
You already answered the first one. Fly or teleport?
Fly.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Would you rather choose Wolverine or Cyclops?
Cyclops.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Batman or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
YouTuber?
Netflix.
Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
Super strength or super smart?
Super smart.
Favorite illustrators? Like, because you're a specialist, so you can have like 3 or 4. I only asked 1, but you can choose 4 or 5 if you want.
Let's see. Comics artist, Mobius. I'll give Mobius, from the French graphic novelist. Brilliant. One of the most influential comics artists in the world. Jack Kirby. Can I do this? I'm going to do it.
Hey, there it is.
Not only am I wearing my favorite superhero for you, but this is a Jack Kirby shirt.
Wow. Yeah, man. I've read some stuff about him and Stanley and what went down over that relationship. It's crazy.
Yeah. Um, so what else? And then I'm a big fan of illustration outside of comics too. I'll give another favorite. Edmund Dulac, Dulac, was an illustrator in the early 20th century who illustrated a lot of fairy tales and historical things uh, for magazines and books. And he's astonishing. He's absolutely full of color. Was a design genius. His drawing skills were superb. He's a home run.
Cool. That's very cool. That's cool. That's a great answer. Okay. Favorite two comic book writers.
Alan Moore and
Okay, you can do two more if you're really.
no, it's just finding the number three is, hold on, Gilbert Hernandez. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's an alternative comics guy, does Love and Rockets. I think he's arguably, well, over the last 40 years, I think he's written more great comics than pretty much anybody.
Cool. Cool. Any last thoughts? The round is over. Speed round is over. In a paragraph, how have comics touched you or changed your life?
Well, I'll let me. I want to give a message to people about comics.
Mm,
So one of the things that I mentioned earlier was that I had never thought that the kind of comics that I also loved besides superhero comics would become as much a part of the mainstream as they are. And in the early 2000s, people started talking about, well, comics aren't just superheroes anymore. Now, I always knew that, but the average person was seeing graphic novels in bookstores, and they were memoirs and slice of life and whatever. And now with the Marvel movies, people are starting to think, oh yeah, comics are superheroes again.
yeah.
And I wish people would go out and look at go Google best graphic novels and go see what you get that's not superhero stuff.
Cool.
And you'll find brilliant books that are for anybody, not for, it doesn't matter if you have ever read a comic in your life. Go read Mouse, go read A Contract with God by Will Eisner.
Cool. That's great. Cool. Well, that's the end of our interview. And don't hang up. I'm just going to hit stop.